The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Knapik and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show. It is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I am your host, Bill Knapik. Thank you for joining us again here on a beautiful day between 5 and 6 in the fourth largest city in the United States. That is right. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title is here for you once again. And today we're going to talk about real estate. Of course, we have tremendous people in real estate, people that have been in the profession for many years. So you're going to enjoy this show. It's going to be informative and so much more. First, we're going to start with Peggy Pentecost with Martha Turner, Sotheby's International Realty. Peggy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill, for having me.
Well, first of all, Martha Turner, Sotheby's, your company is known all around the world, certainly here in Houston, Texas. But let's tell people your role there and some of the other things you're doing, because you're doing so much for the community as well and the real estate profession in general.
Thank you. I am. And I am, of course, a very qualified, long-term professional in the real estate business. I help buyers and sellers, like most people do, that have a real estate license, but I do a lot more than that. As realtors, we end up being a lot more than that, of course. We become experts in a lot of different fields for a lot of people who relocate here and don't know anything. They don't have regular people to call on because they haven't lived here. So, of course, we try to stay up on all that kind of thing so that when someone asks us, well, when do the Rockets play and where do they play and what about those Astros? Where can we see them and where do we get our tickets and on, things like that. Where's the Metro Park and Ride? But those are just some of the small things we do on the side as realtors and realtors that take it a step further. As you know, I also just was recently elected to the board of directors for the Houston Association of Realtors. And I was elected in the largest firms category. And I thought I would win maybe by one vote, and I ended up winning by a sweep of 300 votes.
Whoa.
And I attribute that to my experience with Women's Council of Realtors.
That's a real sweep, Peggy.
That was an incredible sweep. I have to tell you, I'm still spinning at what a great win that was. And I want to thank everyone out there that's listening that voted for me. I truly do appreciate the confidence that you put in me. In addition to that, I am the immediate past president of the Women's Council of Realtors for the state of Texas. And this year, I was asked to help RRC. The designation that RRC has is CRS, which stands for Certified Residential Specialist, and RRC stands for Residential Real Estate Council. So Residential Real Estate Council, like Women's Council, is one of the councils under the National Association of Realtors. National Association of Realtors, as you know, just had their conference, and I just returned from that conference.
So before we talk about the local market and some of the things at Martha Turner Sotheby's International Realty, as I talked to you on the phone yesterday, I think you were just getting right off the plane from the NAR. So let's give people some bullet points on the National Association of Realtors.
So the National Association of Realtors has a conference every year, and it's packed, just jam-packed.
And where was it?
Well, this year it was in Orlando, and it's in a different city every year. So you kind of have to watch the website when that's coming up. But if you're a realtor and you weren't there, you are really missing out on a lot of great information that, frankly, you can only get through the councils and the institutes of the National Association of Realtors. So this particular conference was jam-packed with lots of information. I sit on the Global Business and Alliances Committee. This year we started a movement to establish a new fund to help our realtor family that is outside of the United States. And this is a challenge. As you can imagine, you're dealing with financial institutions outside of the United States. You don't have the same kind of control. You can't just go online and use Venmo and transfer some money.
Different currency, too,
It's
by
a
the
whole
way.
different currency and everything. So with the Ukraine experience, we realized that there was a need for us to really put something in place so that we can act more quickly and help our friends that are abroad in the real estate industry. So we spent our time this particular meeting discussing things having to do with establishing that fund. We did all vote in unison to go ahead and establish that fund.
So for buyers and sellers, let's say right here in the United States, maybe even the Houston, Texas area, what are some of the things that you learned at the NAR that the potential buyers and sellers would like to know about today?
Well, one thing
because the market's changing,
Oh,
right?
the
It's
market
always
is
changing,
changing.
but it's really changing.
It
right?
is always changing. However, it changed so quickly. And if you remember when the onset of the pandemic happened, it changed very quickly then. So just as quickly as it changed then, it is now changing back to a more normal sales cycle, because our sales cycle has always been 3 to 6 months. And we're really looking right now at a 3 to 6 months sales cycle. So it is a more normal amount of time. You're going to see less of that crazy multiple offer situation where you're getting into bidding wars that are driving the price far over the asking price. We're seeing less of that right now. And that is more normal. I don't think anyone could disagree that in most of our lives, we have seen a market where there has not been that kind of pandemonium. So it is a time where buyers and sellers are really behaving in a more normal pattern based on the last 40 or 50 years in real estate. So in the National Association of Realtors, we learned a lot about what's going on in the markets all across the country. We also had the opportunity to exchange information with all the different markets around the country and associations around the country, try to find out some of the things that were being affected, such as the number of realtors. The Houston Association of Realtors, just for one example, just exceeded 50,000 members. And so nationwide, we have over 1.5 million members, and that includes all of the people in the societies and councils and
Okay, so you're
institutes.
making me want to ask, when we talk about numbers of realtors, and we're talking that are members of NAR, so that gives us an idea. We hear the number here in Houston when someone says, oh, well, how many realtors are there? 30, 40, different numbers like that. But if you were to, based on what you know from the NAR, about how many realtors are in the United States, I never thought about that number. How many?
There's a lot. Well,
There's a
when
lot.
I tell you that there's 1.5 members in National Association of Realtors, you have to remember that not all licensees
Are NAR, right.
realtors. So I don't know the exact number of what that would be across the country, but if there's 1.5 million in the
NAR.
National Association of Realtors, you can bet it's a lot.
And that's a lot. So that
That is
means
a lot.
Alaska, all the states we can think of.
That's right.
Real estate is going on in a tremendous or a changing way, we'll say that for sure. What did they say about what to expect in 2023? The answer was the unexpected, but no, really, what did they say?
So 2023 is a bit of a mystery in some ways, but because of the interest rates increasing, which, by the way, the interest rates, which I'm sure Mortgage Mac will be telling us here later about how the interest rates have gone up, but by the same token, probably most of his life, like most of my life, they have not been 1% and 2% and 3%. My interest rate actually in my variable rate mortgage that I still have and would not let anyone take away from me got down to 1.8%.
It's pretty nice.
That was nice.
Real nice, yeah.
It was very nice. So
yeah.
that's not going on anymore.
So we have about 2 minutes left, Peggy. Let's reel back here to Houston, Texas. People listening, Martha Turner Sotheby's International Realty is, we can almost see the building from the radio station right here in the Loop in Houston, but also you have locations in Cypress, Memorial,
Correct.
Kingwood, many places. But give people an idea what's going on right here in the city, the uptown area, if you have a feel for that when you help buyers and sellers. Is that the area you work when you help the buyers and sellers?
I'm an independent agent, so I don't really represent Sotheby's, and I don't represent the Houston Association of Realtors. I'm a realtor, and I'm independent. What I'm seeing, though, is that there is a change, and I do go to the office meetings every week, either by Zoom or in person. I am there, whether I'm traveling or I'm able to come into the office. So what I am hearing from the agent population that is there is pretty much the same as the experience that I'm having, which is that things are slowing down, as I said, but that had to happen. It was just, we still do have, however, low inventory. So it's kind of an unusual situation to have low inventory and high interest rates or climbing interest rates and a slowdown in the market.
So transactions are taking place.
Plenty.
Buyers and sellers right here in Houston, Texas. Before we close the segment, Peggy Pentecost, let's tell people what else you want them to know.
Well, I think what I want them to know right now is that they should understand that there is really never a better time to buy or sell. And it also has a lot to do with what your reason is for wanting to buy or sell. And I can tell you that all you're doing is taking your equity and transferring it to another opportunity. And many times that is exactly what needs to happen. Every piece of property has its own sales cycle and its own equity cycle. And sometimes we get to equity cycle that has pretty much exhausted for a particular piece of property, and it is really time to move that money into another opportunity.
And let's tell people how they can reach you.
So they can reach me at Peggy, that's Peggie, .Pentecost at Sotheby's.realty, or easier than that is Peg Realtor, that's PEGREALTOR at gmail.com. And my phone number is 713-705-3700. That's 713-705-3700.
And thank you for being with us.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you for asking me to be here.
As we continue, it's time to talk to Troy Cothran. He is with Victory Properties. Troy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited about being in today.
Well, it's been a long time. We've known each other many years, and I always said, we got to get Troy on the show. And here today, Rachel Saunders, our business development officer, brought you here, so we're glad to have you.
Yeah, I know that we've talked about it for the last several years, and finally the opportunity arose for me to come in, so I am excited about speaking with you guys and sharing some information.
So here you are. You've been in the real estate profession for many years. Let's tell people about Victory Properties.
Well, Victory Properties started 41 years ago. My mom and dad started it in Deer Park, and I have been in the real estate for 38. My mom and dad are now out of the business. My mom passed away a few years ago. My dad's retired, so I'm now the broker and have been for the last number of years. Right now, currently, I've got it's a smaller office, but we do a lot of business because of most of our business coming from referral. My wife, Maggie Polo, is a realtor. My son, Trey Cothran, is a realtor. My sister, Gail Keller, is a realtor. And then we have a couple of other really good realtors that work with us, Christy Crow, Lynette Elder, Alfonso Lima. So we've got a small office, but we do a lot of business in our whole southeast area.
Let's tell people, when you mentioned there you are, you're in the southeast, so people that are listening right here in Houston know where that is. People listening on the internet, southeast of Houston, but let's tell people the town and the name of the city.
So our office is in Deer Park, but that's in between Pasadena and LaPorte, so both of those are our backyards as well. But we handle basically the whole southeast. We do Clear Lake and Webster, League City, Pearland, Friendswood. Those are just minutes away from Deer Park, as well as getting over to Baytown and Crosby right above us. So truly is a Southeast Bay Area location.
And let's tell people also some of the things. Deer Park in Pasadena. Well, every part of town plays an important role in Houston and the economic drivers of Houston. But give people an idea, as we're so diverse in the things, the oil business, all that stuff, give us an idea of some of the economic drivers that are unique to the area that Victory Properties is in.
Well, first of all, I'll mention about Deer Park. Deer Park is a very special community in the entire Houston area. It typically stays one of the most level, strong communities year in, year out, and that has been the case for many years. We have an excellent school district. Deer Park's people move to Deer Park because of the school districts. Our police department, our crime rate in Deer Park is very low. And, being outside of a metropolitan area, it's not like you have no crime, but, you move to a place that you have a quality of living. And Deer Park offers good jobs in the area, good school districts, and, a safe environment. So that's very nice. Plus, the city has just done an incredible job for amenities for the people that live and work in the city of Deer Park.
Well, far and wide, certainly here in Houston, realtors, all of us, but especially realtors, are community-minded. And when I met you those 12 years ago, I'm going to tell you this, that one of the things that struck me, I was new to the real estate profession. I was not at Stewart Title. I was at another company. But one thing that struck me about you, I was a brand new guy, and I was making sales calls, as salespeople often do, knocking on doors. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
I guess they still do it. But anyway, I knocked on your door, and I want to say this here 12-plus years later. You were very nice, and you helped me engage in that part of town. You knew I was new, and you said, hey, here's some of the people that you should see, and so on and so forth. So you're very kind, and you're still doing that, giving back to the community and helping real estate professionals. I think that was great.
So thanks for mentioning that. One of the things
Did you remember that, Troy?
I do remember it, because that's the way I run my business, and I like to be with people. But I got to mention, I found out very early on. I started when I was 21. I've been in it 38 years, so you can do the math. I'm 59. I found out that real estate is a passion of mine. I love it. I love everything about it. I help a lot of people. There are so many things, not just myself, but realtors do for people that we never get a dime out of. From helping in community involvement projects to helping people protest their taxes and giving them names of contractors that they need. All that's really helpful. But one of the things that I have found is that if you really embrace real estate and you're doing it for a career and you're doing it for the right reason, all the rest of it comes right along with it. So since I've been involved in helping in different ways, things have opened up that I did not ever see me get involved in. One of them is the city needed somebody to represent them on the Southeast Texas Housing Board, also known as SETH, which is for down payment assistance, MCC tax credits, which are a whole nother story. But these are things that help buyers to be able to buy and enjoy their home, not just for the year they buy it, but giving them back money through an MCC tax credit program. And that's something I don't get paid on, but it's something that helps our buyers. So that's really neat. I've got involved in our community on the Chamber of Commerce, and I've been now on it for like about 9 years. And, that's a very...
and that's in Deer Park?
That's in Deer Park Chamber of Commerce. I was the president of it for a year. SETH, the Southeast Texas, I was the president of that for 3 years. So these are organizations you get in to help people, but you don't get rewarded monetarily as a job. So I've been involved with that. I'm also now recently went on planning and zoning for the city of Deer Park, so I'm involved with what's going on in Deer Park on that aspect. So I'm also serving on the HAR Board of Directors. Peggy's coming on this next year. Excited about having her come on. And I've been on it. This is my second time that I've served 2 years, and I hope to be on it a couple more years. So when you go into it looking at helping people and doing the right thing, doors open. One of the things that I've really had a passion about is a breakfast meeting that we have had that started way before I was in real estate 38 years ago. I have been the chairman of it now 30 years.
And I've been there many times
I know
years
you have.
ago, not lately though.
And what it is, it's real estate related. I work really hard to get real estate related speakers. And I feel like that if I'm able to find speakers that come in to help share something that the real estate community doesn't know, realtors, that makes each one of us a little bit better. And if we're all getting a little bit better, we're taking our profession to a new level. So it's really important to me to see good quality speakers to help us learn. We've grown it now. It's about 100, 110 folks come, sometimes a little bit more. We have a special program coming up just next month on, I think it's going to be December the 9th. It's a Friday. because of scheduling. But normally our meeting is always the second Thursday of every month. It's a breakfast. We have it at the Deer Park Battleground Golf Course. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. We get out of there in about an hour and a half. But it's a great networking deal. We have great speakers. We also, in our Christmas program, we have been working on raising money. This money goes to local food pantries. It goes to the seniors. It goes to Meals on Wheels. We do Sarah's House and Project Joy and Hope. Those are organizations helping women and children and stuff like that. And over the last, I was doing a quick math the other day, the last 7 or 8 years, we've raised about $60,000, $70,000 that we've been able to help give back into our community to show that we do care as realtors.
And Troy, is it Bay Area? What's it called?
It's called the Bay Area Realtors Networking Breakfast Meeting. And like I said, we have it every month. Once a month, it's a breakfast meeting. But I'm really kind of excited. I don't know if you've heard yet, but we started a new meeting that's just farther south. It's called the South Bay Area Realtors Networking Breakfast Meeting. We started it about 4 months ago. Tracy Henderson's the one that's started that program out. Our group's helped her get that on the road, pointing in that direction. And that's going to be held the very next week, 2 weeks from now. It'll be, I think it's the 15th of December. It's another breakfast meeting. And that's really good. Now, there are so many more realtors down there. They've sold out 4 meetings in a row since they've started. They've had 150.
Wow.
And they're looking at, and they've been turning people away. So they're looking at making it maybe 2 or 250 for the Christmas program.
Well, let's tell people, if they're interested in the meeting, going to either one of the meetings, what should they do? But also, one of the things I find very helpful is that from 12 years ago, I'm still getting the emails, and thank you for that. The emails are informative because it's saying, hey, this week we have so-and-so is going to be there, and we're going to talk about whatever the topic is. So if someone wants to get on your mailing list so that they know what's happening, if it's something that they want to go to, they can do that. Or if they just want information in general, what should they do?
So I'm going to give you the best email. It's an old one. You'll see how long.
Is there a website for this, by the way?
There is a Facebook page.
There
you can go to the Bay Area Realtor Networking Breakfast, and it'll take you to the one that's in Deer Park, or you can go to the South Bay Area Realtor Networking Breakfast for the one that's held in League City. The one south is basically for that entire Dickinson, League City, Clear Lake, that whole community down there. So either one of these we welcome you to. And here's the great thing. If you're a realtor, you sign up in advance, there's no cost to come. Affiliates, there's a small fee, like $15 to come. So it's just a great way to network.
Breakfast, right?
I'm sorry?
I mean, there's breakfast too.
There is breakfast,
yeah.
It
costs money.
Yeah, and we have some sponsors help to alleviate that cost to allow us to do that. But our speakers and the South, we really work hard to make sure that when you come, you're learning something. When you walk out the door, you don't feel like it's been a waste of time, that you say, I'm a better agent now than I was an hour ago before I made it to the meeting. So you asked about another contact. If you wanted to go on an email list that we put you on to let you know when the meetings come up, the best email, it's a little corny, I know, but you can laugh. Bill still gets it, like you said. It's Troy the Starfish, Troy the THE Starfish at AOL.com. It's an old email, but we've got thousands of people on there that get the information about it. Let me know. We'll put you on an email list so that you can know about the meetings coming up.
Okay, well, keep me on the mailing list with a last minute or so. Tell people, the potential buyers and sellers in the Deer Park area, tell them what else you want them to know about what's going on. They could still buy houses. They could still sell houses there. And by the way, as you were saying earlier, I'm thinking how you're connected, and other real estate professionals, you're connected to that community. If someone has any question, if they're coming from another part of town, another city, another state, they have a question about Deer Park, I bet you have the answer.
Right. I'm always willing to help. And my phone rings every day from people wanting to know, from a contractor to somebody at HAR or somebody local, that we can help, and I'll be glad to do that. But here's what's going on. As you all know, we're in a changing market right now. This changing market's different than what we've had over the last 7 or 8 years. We've had an increasing market that's been wonderful in a lot of ways. But here's the negative too about that wonderfulness that I was just sharing with you. It was pricing a lot of people out of the market to where they could not find a house because there was very low inventory and they weren't able to buy. So guess what? Things are slowing down to get to a more normal market like we've heard. And here's what the opportunity is. Our inventory is higher than what we've had in the last couple of years. Deer Park, back about a year and a half ago, got down to the all-time low. Active listings in Deer Park, we got down one day down to 13 homes is all we had.
All-time low.
All-time low. Never had 13. I mean, people call and say, hey, Troy, can I get a list? And I'm like, well, I can give you the address of the one you're looking for. That's it. Well, I checked today before we had like 51, 52 homes. Now, normal market's about 65 or 70. So we're close. So there's more inventory now. Another thing is, over the past few years, the market's been so strong and everybody had to fight to get, they weren't able to get seller concessions. So what we're seeing now is that buyers are able to maybe get some down payment or assistance for down payment and closing costs. So that's really neat. So there's more inventory and there's money out there to help them get into their home.
Troy, if someone wants to give you a call, let's tell them your number.
The best way to reach me is call or text me on my phone, and I'll give you my personal cell. It's 281-389-8801. That's my cell number. Feel free to call me or text me, and I'll be glad to chat with you.
Again, the number is
281-389-8801.
Thank you for being with us.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
As we continue, it's time to talk about money. On his card, it says Mac Blankenship, but he tells me he is known as Mortgage Mac. Hey, Mac, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bill.
Well, here we are. Money is so important. It's the lifeblood of the real estate transaction, I'm told.
Well, just slightly, maybe.
Just a little, right?
I think they may have exaggerated just a little bit.
So here you are. Your company is Guaranteed Rate.
Correct.
Let's tell people right now some of the things that, we hear about. Interest rates are higher and all that, and they are. There's so many factors that go into the purchase of a real estate transaction. But let's tell people about your company and also from your perspective, what's happening right now here at the end of the year. I mean, we're winding this thing down.
We are. And the industry's gone through a lot of changes this year, and simply because of the rise in interest rates. But Guaranteed Rate is third largest lender on the planet, and we are a company that is designed just for let's just say we're builder and realtor eccentric, right? That is the meaning and value of our and purpose for our existence, is to serve the real estate community, the builder community, along with the buyers and sellers that we come in contact with on a regular basis. But me personally, I've been in the business. Well, I won't tell you how long, but let me
It's been a while.
May 1, 1993, and hopefully nobody can count about how long that is, because it makes me feel really old.
All of us that have been in the profession for a while, we know it's always changing. And to me, that's one of the things that keeps me wanting to turn the chapter, because it's fascinating. We don't know what's going to happen next. So
Yes.
Here we are today. People are worried that it's hitting 7%.
Yes, we went above 7 momentarily, but I believe that we have since, if you go look at the current data that's being published by Freddie Mac,
by the time the show airs.
it might
right.
be changed by the time the
days.
show airs. But we did believe it or not, we had a rally last week in the mortgage-backed securities market that really saw an overall improvement based upon the data that's published by Freddie Mac with regards to the 30-year fixed.
So let's tell people, if people are interested in getting a loan right now, what should their mindset be? What should the strategy be? When should they call you and reach out to get started on their real estate purchase? And what are the options? Mortgage companies, I would assume you're adapting to the market and being creative and having a different plan or two. What's happening? What should I think about as a family buying or an individual buying right now if I want a loan from your company?
Well, because of the rise in interest rates, we believe that the first-time homebuyer is again going to be the dominant force in the marketplace. And I suggest a first-time homebuyer go to mortgagemac.com and download my free 67-page guide to buying your first home. But I have a free 67-page guide at mortgagemac.com. And then
why 67 pages?
Because we had to put an extra page with Mortgage Mac on the last one.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
67.
But then I encourage folks to apply, and I think I'm still different in a lot of people in a lot of companies. You go apply, you get a letter delivered to you, right? But you go apply with me, and I'm going to text you, email you, and invite you to visit with me, because I believe that it's still important to spend quality time with the buyer and lay the groundwork for a successful transaction. I get so many people that call me and say, "Hey, I was supposed to close," or "Hey, this was supposed to happen," and and it could have easily been identified up front if somebody would have spent some quality time with the buyer up front to find solutions and lay the groundwork for a successful transaction.
Indeed. In fact, my personal rule of thumb is any amount over $50,000, I want to see the person. If it's an investment, if it's moving money, if it's a loan, I want to be able to talk to someone and be able to call them.
That's right. You know, and I also see that the mortgage industry is moving to e-closes, with the intention of saving money. And I'm finding that most of my clients still prefer to have that face-to-face closing at the title company.
We're hearing about buy downs. You were talking about that before
Correct.
we got on the air.
Correct.
So let's tell people about that. What's a buy down if I don't know?
It's a temporary buy down, and it's been around forever. But it's really designed for a builder or a seller to make their product more enticing. And it does have some value for the buyer, but only if someone else is paying for it. Because it typically runs about 2.225 of the loan amount.
To buy down the interest
and
rate.
it's on a temporary basis, and that 2.225 is specific to a buy down of 2 points for the first year, a buy down of 1 point for the second year, and for the remaining 28 years, it's going to be whatever the going rate is for the life of the loan. And it's like I was talking to an agent today. She wasn't quite sure, but she believed or had it within the framework of her thinking that we used the year one rate to qualify, and we don't. We use the note rate, and the purpose of the buy down is just as an enticement to get people to go ahead and make a decision. Because, like Peggy said earlier, the increase in interest rates were just extremely dramatic and very quick, and shocking for a lot of buyers.
If someone said, "Mac, I don't know if I want to buy down the rate or if I want a variable rate or adjustable rate." What do you think there?
Yeah, adjustable rates have really fallen out of favor in the secondary market, so I don't see
even now with the rates higher.
Even now, and if you look at a 2-1 buy down, if someone else is paying for it, it's almost like having a 1-year ARM that it's guaranteed to go up year one, guaranteed to go up to year two, with a cap of 2%. That's the way I look at it.
As we look at real estate transactions, you have to have all things considered. What's the house that I'm buying? What's the value? What's the projected value? And then the interest rate comes into play too. So there's a lot of different variables that make it difficult. But in the end, buy when you need the house.
Yeah,
and get the best loan that you can.
Fear drives a lot of the news in the new 24-hour cycle. I encourage buyers, look, if you're really, really concerned, it's about payment and it being outside the scope of what you feel comfortable with, then it's a good idea for you to sit down with your spouse, your significant other, do a budget.
That's a good point.
And if you can do the numbers and you can figure out that, hey, I spend this much money on eating out versus owning a home, then maybe you just decide to stay home instead of eating out. And for me personally, I know when I bought my first home in 1993, 1994 at $59,000, I was thinking a $600 payment was just more than I could ever afford. So that's what I did personally. Sit down, do a budget, and just approach it from a logical standpoint instead a standpoint of fear.
The other thing I'm thinking is that, and you see this as you're helping people, let's say there's the last 100 loans, those 100 loans, the last ones that you have matched people up with, out of those loans, some of those people, families, were buying the home to stay in indefinitely. And then there were others, certainly here in Houston, the dynamic market, some people are buying those homes and they're only going to be here 3 years. They're here on assignment. They're here from another country. So there's a certain percentage. So everybody's situation is different, right?
Everyone's situation is different.
Especially if we're going to be in a temporary mode, hey, big deal. What's the payment? And do I like the house? Is it going to work? And can I sell the house when it's time?
Yeah, I would agree. And I've had more than one person recently express interest in 2-1 buy down solely on the basis that they knew that within the 2-year time frame, they either had another home to sell, or they had some land to sell. But I would encourage folks, don't make that decision just based on the fact that you think interest rates are going to go lower. I believe they are tapering downward, but interest rates were low, extraordinarily low. For what reason? COVID and 21 million people being laid off, right? And then prior to that, they were low during the Great Recession because of what? Foreclosures and an economy that foreclosed on 10 million households.
What year was that?
It was 07, 08, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
Well, one thing I've learned in the last couple of years, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Who would have ever predicted COVID?
Rates could go up, down, sideways even. There's no telling what's going to happen in 2023. It makes me want to see what happens.
Yeah, the next extinction level event, we're going to the ones.
So Who knows?
Yeah.
So let's say we have another minute or so left.
Okay.
Mac, what do you want people to know?
Well, if you would like to get in touch with me, and the best way to do that is just go to open your Google and do #MortgageMac, and all of my contact information is there, and there's just a ton of resources there for buyers and real estate agents.
If someone wants to call you, Mortgage Mac,
They would call me at 832-243-8549, 832-243-8549.
And lastly, of all the things you could be doing, how is it the money business is where you're at?
How?
What drew you, in 30 seconds, what drew you into this world versus who knows what else you could do?
A green Cadillac.
You wanted a green Cadillac years
You said
ago?
in 30 seconds or less. I mean, I tell you the whole story.
That's the answer.
Paul Saint Amand.
Green
You know,
Cadillac.
anyone know Paul Saint
I do
Amand?
not know.
Yeah. He opened his. I was selling advertising. He opened his blind and he said, "Do you see that green Cadillac out there?" I said, "Yes, sir." This is 30 years ago.
Okay, so now if someone wants to know the rest of that story, they can call you at
832-243-8549.
the Green Cadillac story. Thank you, Mac.
Thank you, Bill.
Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title would not be possible without our partner, Stewart Insurance, with a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers. Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risks. Here he is today with us once again with Stewart Insurance, John Bramlett. John.
Bill, always a pleasure.
How was that preamble? You know, I work on it every week.
That was the best ever.
That's what I was hoping for. Good.
That was the best you've ever done.
Well, we love to talk about insurance. People far and wide wait for this insurance segment every week. So today, what do we have?
Reflection and preparation. We're going to talk about reflection and preparation.
It's that time of year.
It is that time of year. So as we move towards 2023, there are many of us that are spending time doing one or the other, potentially both. But if you are thinking about the year and what was learned and what was accomplished, what was lost, areas for growth, it's kind of a nice way to begin thinking about that year. As you reflect on the year, you take a look at, from a business perspective, how were my sales? Did I grow? Did we decrease? Did we add employees? Did we take employees away? Did we expand our operations, whether it be the number of offices or the services that we provided? Did we increase the number of drivers in our household? Did we expand our home? Did we upgrade the furniture in our apartment? All those things are worth considering and looking at because they can all have an effect on your insurability or all have an effect on whether you're properly insured. So as you take a look back on the year and as you get ready to prepare for 2023, that's a good task to take on, because as you look into the year, what are your expectations for the year? What are your objectives for the year? What are the goals that you're trying to achieve? And how would those goals affect your business? Are you planning on growing? Are you planning on adding new people? Are you going to have a new driver in the household? Are you buying a new home? You're not? You're not?
Don't want to.
Okay. All right. Well.
Unless the dogs start driving. But for right now,
Elvis is not driving?
not yet.
Okay.
He's in training.
All right. So if you have those types of changes, are you expecting those things, then that also could affect, are you properly insured? Or at least have the conversation with your insurance advisor about either things that have changed in the past that could affect your insurability, or the fact, am I still properly insured? Or taking a look at the future, what are those elements that could be that you're hoping to accomplish in the coming year that could affect your insurability?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of real estate professionals, a lot of brokers actually have added locations, so they're adding locations. The real estate professionals, I've heard a couple, and then also some individuals that are sitting with cash saying, I think I want to get into this Airbnb. So people that do that, those are other insurance events that would take place, and that would be where they would change and need more insurance and a certain type, by the way.
Well, it is, and it's important that when you're making those decisions, think about it at least a bit in terms of what's the risk, not so much as the risk of the investment, but the risk from an insurance perspective. So, if you're adding locations for a real estate broker, chances are that means you've had a successful year or successful years, and that's fantastic, and we congratulate you. But with more locations and more associates in the eyes of an insurance company, that's going to be more risks. So keep that in mind. If you are decided to take some of that cash and you're going to go into some investment properties, so that you're going to have maybe some properties that you lease out. There's different types of insurance plans for those properties versus just assuming that it would be your home plan, that you need to look at different plans for that. So have an understanding of what that potential risk is, and what types of coverage can you obtain to offset those risks.
In fact, as you know, from time to time, I look at investment properties, buying a home. And one of the things I find interesting is that if I look at a brand new property, and I usually get an insurance quote as I'm really thinking about making an offer, or if it's an existing home, same thing. But one of the great things is that when I call Stewart Insurance, is that if it's a brand new construction, man, you get that quote right away, and it's usually lower. So I guess it's got the new roof, it has so many things, but it seems like that insurance quote for a new property, a new build, is always lower, and it's like they're eager to insure it. Not that they're not on others, but it's just, I always like when that number comes back, it seems lower.
Well, I don't think you can always assume that it's going to be lower, because it also depends on the location of the property. However, there are less risks in insuring a piece of property where the roof is new and the appliances are new.
And the codes are up to date.
The codes are up to spate. It's the plumbing is all top of the line versus something that maybe was built in 1970.
Right. Or like 1992, my house.
Or 1992.
Yes. Yeah. Not up to date.
Except for where Elvis lives.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Yes.
So in the meantime, we know there's all types of insurance to have, a tremendous time to plan, to prepare, to do it all at once. That's why I love this time of year. Plus, it's nice to get that day planner out, whether it's on the cloud or I like to write in and think about what's going to happen, what am I going to do, what are the goals, what am I going to do next. It's a great time.
Absolutely. So if you're looking at the end of the year and what did we accomplish, and as you prepare for next year and you're establishing some of your financial goals for the year or your family's goals for the year, your business goals for the year, insurance ought to be part of that discussion, whether it be from a financial perspective or just making sure that you have that peace of mind that you are properly insured, whether it be for your apartment or your real estate brokerage firm.
That's right. And that's Stewart Insurance. There's a lot of insurance companies out there. We see advertisements, all those things. You're the only company that has their own, quote, radio show, we'll say, but also the only company that I've ever heard those two words put together as a saying, being properly insured. And indeed, that should be our goal, to be properly insured. You could slice it any different way, and properly insured fits our needs, the amount of risk we want or don't want. So it's all right there. I think that's a great way to put it, and to put in people's minds as they review and as they plan ahead.
Well, as an independent property and casualty insurance broker, we have access to a variety of insurance partners that we work with. So it allows us to build plans that best meet the needs of the individual, of a family, of a real estate business, whether you be an independent title and attorney agent, property management firm, real estate broker. We can help you out with that. And as you said, the idea of being properly insured is not so much having the most robust coverage or the least expensive coverage. It's having the right coverage for wherever you are in your life or wherever the life of your business is. So we have clients that are very risk averse, that have very extensive coverage, and we have clients that are willing to take on more risk for whatever reason. But as long as either party understands what that is, then we've got coverage and you're properly insured.
And we know right here in Houston, Texas, people are listening at the time of broadcast, but they also hear us far and wide after the fact. And it's a great opportunity to remind people that you're not just helping people here in Houston, but all over the United States.
That's correct. We have clients
So if
all
you're
over
hearing
the
this
U.S.
show and you're in Indiana or whatever else,
Yeah.
hey, you can call John and call the team and get properly insured right now.
That's correct. Whether you're on the West Coast or you're in Indiana in the Midwest, you're here in Texas, you're on the East Coast, we're here to help you and your business be properly insured.
And before we close this segment, John, what else do you want people to know?
If you'd like to be properly insured, whether that be for your individual needs, home, wind, auto, flood, motorcycle, vacation property, you can reach us at 866-798-2827. If you'd like to be properly insured for your real estate broker, your errors and omissions, cyber liability, general liability, a business owner's plan, workers' compensation, we can help you, real estate brokers, independent title attorney agents, property management firms, and you can reach us at 866-798-2827. You can learn more about us at stewartinsurance.com or email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com.
If people heard the show last week or the week before, you're also out there telling people, you're teaching classes, you're available to real estate brokers. So that's another thing you, John Bramlett, are an expert at, and also sharing your knowledge right here in the Houston area and even beyond.
That's correct. So we have 3 CE classes that we are licensed to provide continuing education for real estate brokers and realtors in the state of Texas. One talks about your liability and protecting your license. One gives a feel for how insurance companies look at residential property and the coverage that should be applied to each of those different types of residential property. And one looks at the two sides of water, how insurance companies look at water damage. We also can talk with you about keys for first-time homebuyers, some keys around cybersecurity and cyber risks, as well as just I did recently a talk for a property management firm on just the different types of business insurance that it's available.
And the phone number east of the Mississippi is
866-798-2827.
and west.
866-798-2827.
John Bramlett, Stewart Insurance. Thanks for being with us once again, John.
Bill, always a pleasure.
And after the show, I'm going to get back to my planning and preparation and reflection.
Please do.
Well, as we wind up the show, what a show. Once again, great information today. She is back right now with us, Peggy Pentecost, Martha Turner, Sotheby's International Realty. Peggy, welcome back.
Thank you, Bill.
And as we close the show, let's tell people, what else do you want them to know about your company or how you're helping the buyers and sellers out there?
Well, what I'd like them to know is if they want to work with an expert who's had experience now for more than 30 years,
there you go.
then they want to work with me.
And you know the city pretty well,
and I
too.
know
The
the city.
ins, the outs,
Oh,
the
boy, I
ups.
watched this city grow. I got here, and the only place you could get a cocktail was in a private club. So things
Well,
have
wait a
changed
second.
a lot. Yes.
When was that?
That was in the 70s when the
Here
first
in
time I
Houston?
visited here. Yes.
I think that was a southern thing because I
Oh
don't
my
know
goodness!
what
I don't know. I was like, oh my goodness! You have to have a card to get a cocktail. Yeah.
You know, I heard something about that. Well,
Liquor
buyers,
by the drink. They didn't have it here.
now that you're going way back there.
I am going way back.
All right.
So I know the city, so
You
I can
know the
help
city.
you. I've seen it grow. I know all the landmarks and the ones that have disappeared and the new ones that have been built. And
You know, just for a flash, I'm going to go way back for our younger listeners. They won't know this, but when we were talking to Troy, I was thinking about Deer Park and all that. I was thinking about Urban Cowboy. You remember that? That is going way back.
going to Gillies?
You talk about things,
Oh,
landmarks
yes.
that aren't here anymore.
that's exactly correct.
But many of the people listening, that's tickling them because right now a lot of people remember that, and we have so many landmarks. Well, buyers and sellers, they want to reach out to you, Peggy Pentecost. Give them your number again, Peggy.
My number is 713-705-3700. That's 713-705-3700.
There you are. And he is coming back right now from Victory Properties. Troy Cothran.
Well, thank you, Bill. So you said one thing. I'm going to give you 3 real short things. Okay, keep them real.
Go ahead.
Number 1. So I think if somebody would really like to find a home, you need to work with a realtor that's excited about what they do, whether it's myself or Peggy or one of the others, somebody that's invested in their time in the community and what they do. I think that's one. Another thing is I want to tell those realtors that are out there watching that you need to continue making sure that you're doing everything you can to be the very best real estate agent you can by going to meetings and learning as much as you can. Another thing is I wanted to encourage those realtors that are listening to be more involved in our HAR board. Right now it's to sign up through, I think, December 1st. There's a lot of different committees that you can sign up for. These are committees that are very important. They're the pulse, they're the heartbeat of what we do as real estate agents. So I want to encourage that.
So that's a good time of year to get involved with HAR.
Right.
I didn't think about that.
This is the time they opened it up. I think it was October 1st through December the 1st to volunteer for different committees, whether it's for some of the local area breakfast meetings and luncheons, the MLS, ethics. There's just all kinds of things that they can get involved in. And when you get involved, you find out how the organization really works and how it works for you to make you a better real estate agent and protect our community from things that people don't know about. So
all these things, helping with the community, HAR, all that involvement does make you a better Houstonian, a better realtor. You're able to help people because people are coming to the city every day, Troy,
I know.
in droves.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the statistic that was given earlier by Peggy saying there was 50,000 realtors, unfortunately, a lot of those do not have the experience that the more experienced agents have. And that's really important to realize that there is a difference, just like the kind of car you drive, the home you buy, there's a difference between realtors as well.
Okay, one quick thing I meant to ask you. I bet you help a lot of young realtors. A quick word, if someone just got their license or they're a realtor in the last 6 months, how do you advise a couple bullet points there?
Okay, this has got to be a career. This is not something you're trying. If you say, when I hear a real estate agent say, I want to try in real estate, it's not going to happen.
The try word right away.
Try word is a red flag. This is a career. This is a lifelong type of career, and that'll put them on a good path.
That's a great word. Thank you so much, Troy. Catherine, let's tell them your number again. Troy is?
Sure. My personal cell number is 281-389-8801, and feel free to call me or text me. I'll be glad to do
And the breakfast again?
The breakfast, the Bay Area breakfast is always, except for December, is always the second Thursday of each month at the Deer Park Battleground Golf Course starting at 8 o'clock. In December, it will be starting it's a Friday starting at 8 o'clock. That'd be December the 9th.
Get on the mailing list. That's right. Thank you, Troy. And he is back. They call him Mortgage Mac. Here he is, Mac Blankenship. Hey, Mac, before we close the show, what else do you want people to know about the money business or anything else?
If you're a buyer out there and you have anxieties associated with buying a home today, and or maybe somebody didn't take the time to really begin to develop and lay a foundation for you, call me or just go to #MortgageMac on Google, apply, and you know what, I'll connect with you and we'll spend some meaningful time together, lay the groundwork for you to move forward in a way that clearly identifies your goals. And look, people are concerned about two things when they buy a house. For the last 29 years that I've been in the business, people want to know two things just before closing. What's my payment? How much do I need to close? And I believe that
Where's the keys?
And if I can help people identify that up front, especially with first-time home buyers, it removes a great deal of anxiety.
And your number is?
My number is 832-243-8549. That's 832-243-8549, or go to Google, #MortgageMac.
Thank you, Mac, for being with us, and thank you all for being with us and for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I am your host, Bill Knapik, together with John Bramlett, Tom Carpentier, Larry Warren, Justin Ramirez. That's right, we're a team between Stewart Insurance and Stewart Title. We're there to help you. And also, you're hearing the show, you can go back to past episodes at stewart.com/radio. I think I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. But simply go to stewart.com/radio. That's right. You can access the archives. You can also see what's going on in the studio, the guests. There's a video, we have cameramen all over the place. It's incredible by simply going to stewart.com/radio. And oh yeah, the green Cadillac, what's that all about? Call Mac. We'll see you next week, stewart.com/radio. Thank you all for listening.